Welcome everyone to this Countdown Explainer. If you're a focused learner looking to level up your gaming knowledge, you are in the exact right place. You know, video game cameos are a lot like secret trapdoors in gaming history. One minute, you're playing a familiar adventure, and the very next, boom, you're staring at a legendary character who somehow wandered in from a completely different universe. Okay, let's dive right into this top 10 countdown of the greatest gaming cameos ever. Are you ready to uncover gaming's best-kept secrets? Go ahead and press start in your mind, because we're initiating the countdown right now. We'll be ranking these 10 legendary appearances based on their overall impact, the sheer element of surprise, and of course, the fan reaction. Kicking things off at level 10, imagine the monumental challenge of collecting all 120 power stars in our first game. We're talking about Super Mario 64. After grinding to gather every single one of those stars, players could finally access the previously unreachable roof of Princess Peach's castle. And who's waiting up there? Yoshi, making his first fully 3D appearance. Now, he doesn't actually join your adventure, but he congratulates you and then generously drops 100 extra lives on you. Back in 1996, pulling off this massive undertaking and finding him up there truly felt like uncovering a sacred, tightly guarded secret. Moving down to level 9, this next entry actually made a specific console version the definitive edition for fans. We're looking at Link from The Legend of Zelda dropping into Soul Calibur 2 on the GameCube. Way before guest fighters became the commonplace industry standard we know today, seeing Link wielding the legendary Master Sword against traditional fantasy warriors was simply astonishing. He wasn't just referenced as a fun little Easter egg, he was a fully playable fighter with unique moves, unique equipment, and his own stages. Let's move to level 8 and see how this builds, because now we're dropping a recognizable character from a massive sci-fi shooter straight into a fighting arena. Here, we're directly contrasting the Arbiter's Covenant-inspired attacks from the Halo universe with the fast-paced martial arts roster of Team Ninja's Dead or Alive 4. Microsoft genuinely shocked players by dropping him into this game. He arrived complete with Halo-themed visuals to match. You have to remember, back on the Xbox 360, cross-franchise appearances between major console exclusives were incredibly rare, so this specific crossover generated a massive amount of excitement. Jumping down to level 7, we're shifting all the way back to the Super Nintendo era for an encounter with a legendary bounty hunter. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how perfectly hidden she was. In Kirby Superstar, specifically during the Great Cave Offensive mode, observant fans who managed to defeat Meta Knight were treated to an awesome little detail. You can actually find Samus RN casually relaxing right among the treasure. It's a brief appearance for sure, but seeing Nintendo's famous bounty hunter just hanging out in Kirby's incredibly colorful world was a thrill that delighted fans and hinted super early on at Nintendo's interconnected family of characters. Hitting level 6 now, this takes us to a time long before crossover fighting games were the industry standard. We're looking at the iconic Street Fighter II legend Chun-Li popping up in Breath of Fire for the Super Nintendo. And she wasn't just a static background prop either. She appeared as a hidden character who could actually join your party. Finding one of gaming's most famous fighting figures tucked inside a traditional fantasy RPG was a delightful, totally unexpected surprise. It was a brilliant early example of Capcom actively celebrating its own rich history. We're halfway there, queuing up level 5. This one steps into a modern, multi-platform collaboration that beautifully bridged generations of gaming. It literally was like two gaming giants shaking hands across generations. Seeing Sega's famous speedster, Sonic the Hedgehog, make a grand entrance into Mojang's Minecraft was pure magic. Now, Minecraft has hosted plenty of collaborations, but Sonic's arrival really stood out because players could actually explore iconic locations inspired by Green Hill Zone and other classic stages. Watching Sonic race at top speed through a blocky, voxel-based Minecraft world, unbelievable. Revealing level 4. We're taking a quick trip back to the Nintendo 64 for a brief, but totally shocking Mushroom Kingdom discovery. In The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, when you visit Princess Zelda's courtyard, if you peer through a very specific window into Hyrule Castle, you can spot framed portraits hanging on the wall. And those portraits feature Mario, Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, and Bowser. The cameo lasts only a few seconds, but generations of players vividly remember the sheer shock of finding Mushroom Kingdom royalty secretly hidden inside one of Nintendo's most beloved adventures. Announcing level 3, we're shifting over to the PlayStation 4 for a really loving tribute between witty adventurers. We're talking about Guybrush Threepwood from the legendary Monkey Island series, making an appearance in Naughty Dog's Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. During a specific pirate-themed sequence in the game, players can discover a portrait of Guybrush. Considering both of these franchises heavily revolve around treasure hunting, exploration, and highly witty protagonists, finding this cameo serves as a perfect tribute. It brilliantly connects the DNA of Naughty Dog's modern game with the classic genres that inspired it.
Okay, the hype is building as we get down to level 2. This is easily one of the most memorable and frankly bizarre unlockable cameos of the Xbox 360 era.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer visual absurdity of it all. You have Mega Man's iconic blue armor and Buster completely contrasted against hordes of terrifying undead zombies. In Capcom's Dead Rising, players who complete specific challenges can actually unlock this suit. Suddenly, you have the game's realistic protagonist, Frank West, violently blasting his way through a zombie apocalypse while dressed head-to-toe as Capcom's beloved blue robot hero. It is absolutely unforgettable.
Alright, before we face the final boss of our countdown, let's rapid fire through some honorable mentions. Think of this like a high score screen. We've got the fierce Kratos dropping into Shovel Knight, classic Pac-Man speeding into Ridge Racer, the legendary Cloud Strife battling it out in Urges, and of course the beloved Banjo and Kazooie finally making their way into Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Incredible cameos that really paved the way.
And here we are. It's time. Imagine we're walking right into the final boss room of this explainer. Out of all the trapdoors in gaming history we've discussed today, who do you think takes the #1 spot? Who claims the ultimate title?
Unveiling the #1 spot, an inclusion that felt completely, utterly impossible for fans at the time.
It's Solid Snake and Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Placing Konami's gritty, mature stealth action icon right alongside family-friendly faces like Mario, Kirby, and Pikachu was something literally nobody expected. His inclusion single-handedly transformed Smash Bros. From a strictly Nintendo-focused history museum into a massive industry-wide celebration of all video gaming.
So, the crucial point is that Snake's highly unexpected arrival completely opened the floodgates for the countless future guest characters we see in games today. He has a massively influential legacy that remains one of the greatest moments in gaming history. And that brings us to the end of our explainer. But before you go, I want to leave you with a provocative question to chew on. Now that we know the impossible is actually possible, what crazy video game crossover do you want to see happen next?